Hey there, welcome to the table. The real table. No tabletop simulator. We're here to play Red Dust Rebellion. Although I have to confess, this game does have an addition on Tabletop Simulator, but GMT took away the solo components. So, I mean, you can use Tabletop Simulator to play with your friends, but you can't really use it to play solo. I wish I knew how to upload components to Tabletop Simulator so I could, play it on there, to be quite honest. But anyways, it is there. You can grab it in the workshop to take a look at it, but all the solo components will be gone. This is a coin game. I know you can't see it, but it is from GMT Games, and I have my fancy-dancy green screen up. We have our big map here, and then of course we have our green screen going on. You'll see a little bit of distortion along the way, but I think I got it balanced to the way I like it. And the big thing is this is Red Dust Rebellion. It's I don't know, there's so many coin games now. I may be inaccurate in saying this, but I think it's the first one that's not based on some real life historical thing. It's based on a futuristic, there's a Mars colony. I've played quite a few coin games by now, and every game I play, I'm like, I would just rather play Pendragon. And I felt that way even with Gandhi. But I loved that Gandhi's solo mechanism was fantastic. And it was the same as the Vietnam one, which, by the way, it's one of my shelf of shame. I've never played the Vietnam one. And it's funny because I'm going to play this one. Well, I had the Vietnam one sitting here for over a year. It's just, I do need to get to it. The Vietnam one does have the Trang solo bot thing, which is the same thing that Gandhi used, and the same thing that this used. I guess the Vietnam theme just doesn't appeal to me very much. That's probably my largest issue. And also, the Vietnam is one of the original coin games, and those original coin games, I'm telling you, it's just remove a cube, put on a cube, whereas Pendragon was so much more. And so I know one particular viewer, I had to block him because he got so annoyed that I kept bringing up Pendragon when I was playing, I can't even remember which coin game it was, but it was not the Gandhi one. But anyways, it's a thing, and I apologize in advance. So we're going to introduce the game, set up the game, and then we'll start playing in video 2. So this is, if you're looking just for the playthrough, jump to video 2. If you want instructions or help on how to set up the game, this is your video. And then we'll introduce it in case you're not familiar with coin. And I just want to say something, and I did say it in one of my internet forums. There were multiple YouTubers that got this game months ago. Multiple months ago or just 1 month ago, doesn't matter. And every one of them shamelessly put out an unboxing video, and not a single one of them put out a playthrough. Not even the tutorial playthrough. The tutorial playthrough is so simple. They didn't even try the tutorial. They put out their shameless unboxing video. I'm betting over half of them didn't even bother playing the game. They put out their unboxing video, asked you for likes and subscribes, and then sold their copy. I guarantee you, that's what half of those YouTubers do. They just come up with a really polished, shameless unboxing video. And here's the shame with this one in particular. This game is designed by Jay Carmichael, right here. If you're familiar with the name, he's the guy who does the 3-Minute Board Game YouTube channel. So you will see an unboxing on his channel, and don't get angry with him. He's the guy who designed the game. And his unboxing was way back when he was getting his copy from the factory and he needed to approve it. So it was exciting stuff when he did his unboxing. We've all seen the unboxing. When these YouTubers got the game early, it was their opportunity to crack into it and start playing it. No, they all did the exact same unboxing that Mr. Carmichael of 3-Minute Board Games did months before them. The game hasn't changed. It's completely the same. And I'm sorry, my blood pressure is going up. I'm telling you folks, I don't ask you for likes or subscribes here. I never ever will. I never ever have. And my son did once in a video like 6 years ago. My son asked for likes and subscribes because he was all excited that I had a YouTube channel. I don't ask for them. I don't care if you're at my channel. I have my little bit of revenue I get. I don't care if that revenue goes up or down. I'm here to play games, and you're welcome to join me at the table. That's been my theme from the start. This is the Jeff channel. This is not even a board game channel. I will talk about barbecuing on a pellet grill. I'll talk about my motorcycle. I go visit my son at West Point, and we talk about, all the honor and tradition that goes on there. There's so many things I do in this channel because it's about Jeff. It's not about, board games and revenue. Now, with that being said, I know a lot of people do come here for the board games, and you're going to get it. Because we're going to play this, and we're going to play it quicker than those damn YouTubers that got this game 2 months ago. And if anybody from GMT Games ever finds this video, first off, if Mr. Carmichael from 3 Minute Board Game comes, I cannot stress enough that you guys need to not take out your wrath on 3 Minute Board Games, because he did everything correctly. Everybody else, you really need to give them feedback. And if anything, you should block them. They're worthless YouTubers. And GMT needs to stop giving out pre-advanced copies to these morons. I don't care. Like, I know GMT's probably revenue's fine the way it is. And maybe the unboxing videos, they think that increases their sales. But give them feedback. And it doesn't even need to be me. I don't need to be the one that does the advanced copies. Just, it's part of the requirements. If you're going to give out an advanced copy, then the jerk needs to do a playthrough. And that goes to everybody, including, the big YouTubers. I don't care. If you want an advanced copy, play it. Show how it's played. Anyways, I'm getting off my my pedestal there. We're going to do the setup and introduction. I'm going to try to assume you've never played a coin game, but I will apologize because the problem with a coin game is that if you haven't played a coin game before, there's a lot of things you're going to have to learn. And if you have, there's a lot of things that's going to make you hit fast forward on the video, just like you probably hit fast forward on my rant. But screw those YouTubers. I just as soon as those YouTubers come up, I'm seriously going to tell them to never recommend the channel. I want the algorithm to cut them out. And one of them is, there was one that got really saucy with me. And I don't make it a habit of calling them out, but that guy, I think it was, I'll get back to you on that one. And maybe it's not right for me to call him out, even though he was a super jerk. If you're going to get a game early, play the damn game. All right, because that's what we're here for, right, folks? We're here to play these games. We're not here to just see the unboxed. And not only do they unbox them, but they don't even bother looking at the rules. Oh, this component, it does what? I don't know what it does. And granted, there's plenty of videos that I have where I'm like, I don't know what this component does, but I'm earnestly trying to figure it out. Anyways. Okay, so getting back to this. COIN stands for counterinsurgency. And counterinsurgency just simply meaning, the classic one was Vietnam. You have a government that's established, which was South Vietnam. You have the North Vietnamese army, right, that was more formalized. You had the Americans, which were, holding a presence. And then you had the Viet Cong, which was more like a guerrilla outfit. And so guerrilla warfare is typically the classic thing for counterinsurgency because that's what it simply means. You have some established entity that's dealing with rebels of some sort. And that's why Gandhi was a great topic. And so this one, you have the corporations. And I apologize, it's the black. It doesn't handle black super well, but you got the corporations. You have Church of the Reclaimers. you have the Red Dust movement, and then you have, if we can put it up here, you have the Martian government. Okay, so the game has, so this is Rebel number 1, Church of the Reclaimers. I don't know what their shtick is, and they have like a theme for all of them. This one, they want to control spaces on Mars, establishing their own bases, and they look at the mistakes of the old Earth. So they're a bit of a religious organization. They just have these ideas that they want Mars to be different. So they're trying to establish bases, etc. The Red Dust movement is your classic rebellions. They want to establish bases on Mars as well, and they oppose the Martian government. So they're calling themselves the Dusters, or the nickname for them is Dusters. They're organized, determined operation within the labyrinth of Mars, rallying unions and guilds to oppose Earth. So both of these are the insurgents. So then the counterinsurgents, this is what's an interesting aspect of this game, is you have the Earth government. But the Earth government is, think of them like the United Nations. They aren't actually playing that's not a playable character. This is like an NPC. Nobody plays as Earth in this game. So what represents Earth is you have the corporations, which are allies with Earth, and you have the Martian government, which is also allies with Earth. So both of these factions can control Earth components. So Earth will have actual resources and troops and etc. in the game, and both of these factions can control the Earth components. So Earth wants either or both of them to succeed. Obviously in this game, only one can succeed. So the difference is the Martian government wants to increase Earth's confidence in them. So there's a confidence level, and that confidence level, let me get these out of your way, is right here on the right side of the board. And so they want to increase confidence level and build support from the population. So they need the people on their side. Corporations just want profits, baby. Money, 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 money. They want to terraform the deserts. And that's one of their primary ways of getting money. It says there's several other ways. I don't know what they are. I've never played this before. We're going to be learning it together. So you have 4 different factions. They're asymmetric in a way. Some of them are, like the Martian government and the corporations are allies. That doesn't mean they don't do things to screw each other over from time to time. The Red Dust movement and the Church of the Reclaimer are not allies. They're both rebels, yes, but they don't have any compassion for each other. They don't support each other in any way. Okay, so very interesting dynamic. But at the end of the day, this game is a 4-player game and only 1 player wins. Even though some are allies with others, blah, 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 blah. Okay, so just understand that. And you can play with 4 bots and just see who wins. I don't know how fun that would be, but I mean, it's doable. And then, of course, we could play as 1 faction. And there's even a way where you could play as 2 factions. It's got it all laid out here in the rule book. We're going to just play as 1. Who are we going to play? I don't know yet. I was leaning towards, maybe we should be a corporation, because they seem very straightforward. The Martian government might also be fun to play. So here's another thing. Usually when you play as the government, or I'm going to reference Pendragon, when you're playing as the dukes, which represents the Romans that are still there, they tend to, the game tends to be like tower defense. You got people attacking you from the east, you got people attacking you from the west, and you got to build up your towers, and and in that case, you were moving your cavalry back and forth to defend your regions. And there was a lot of that going on. Like, you have to defend your regions and, eventually see if you can hold out. The Dukes actually started the game winning. Like, if the game would have done a victory check on turn 1, the Dukes would have automatically won. And so what's interesting is that you start off the game winning, and then you're just constantly being barraged, and you're losing by the time you get to your first victory check. So I don't know if it's exactly that way with this. Obviously, every coin game is a little different, and rightfully so. If this was set up to be exactly like another game, it would stink. Now, what is it? What are some of the things about this game that appeals to me, and that seems to be different from a regular coin game? Well, obviously you're on Mars, but at the same time, you got the same idea. This is going to be, if you're familiar, you put population here, and then this is going to be determining whether or not, this might be new, but there's a damage marker that goes there. So you got, you have things like support. And here, I can show you over here. So it says passive support on one side, and then, of course, active support. And that's another thing to understand, is there's basically, it's a 5-level system. So it's either, so you got, you have 5 levels. On this side, they're actively supporting the Martian government. On this side, they're actively supporting the rebels. And then you have passive rebels, passive government, and then neutral. Does that make sense? So active rebels, passive rebels, neutral. Active Martian government, passive Martian government, neutral. So it's a 5 system. And so what you have is you have 2, this is the active and passive for the Martian government because it's blue. And then you have active and passive opposition, and that's for the Red Dust Rebellion. Right? Now, you might be asking, well, what about the corporations? The corporations don't care about the population. So they don't care if the population supports the Martian government or the Red Dust Rebellion. That's not as much of a concern for them. I don't know if they care 0%. I mean, we'll have to check. But the point is that the scale is between the Martian government and the Red Dust Rebellion. And remember, the next thing is over here on the right is control. So who controls the region? Here you can see the Martian government controls the region, and on the other side is the Church of the Reclaimers, or Redeemed, or whatever they call themselves. So you could see that that is getting into, now there's also red dust control and Martian control, right? So the Martians are struggling to control regions with both sets of rebels. So it gets interesting how, one is doing one thing more than another, or one cares about one aspect of the game more than another. And then another interesting thing is there, you can see there's launch pads. This might be actually hard for you to see with it zoomed out like it is, but there's a launch pad at this middle location. There's another one here. And I know it's hard to read there, but you can see right here, there's a launch pad, and there's also another launch pad here. I actually haven't looked up what that does yet, so we're going to figure that out as we go. But these represent the settlements, or cities, if you will, on the game, and I got to zoom out just enough so you can see the score at the top. There's a score track at the very top there, and we're going to have a whole bunch of tokens you can see there. So, like for example, this one here and that one, you can see are the church-controlled bases, and the other one is looks like it's the agitate total. Yeah, so I'll have to look up what that is too. But the point is those are markers that are going to move up and down the score track at the top, and that's going to help us determine who the winner is. Now, this game is played over eras. Sometimes they're called epochs, like in Pendragon. With the American Revolution one, they were actual historical, like I think a year, like so the game was played over 4 years or something like that. So every game breaks things down into a certain number of increments. This particular game, the increment is called Dust Storms, and so you end up getting these Dust Storm cards, and that's what triggers the end of the round. And you can see with the Dust Storm card, let me hold it up for you. You can see the first thing it checks is victory. Then there's a resources, support, redeploy, reset, blah, blah, blah. So we have there is a handout. There's lots of handouts in this game, but there's one in particular. Of course, it's the last one I grabbed. So we have what's called a Dust Storm round. And you can see right here, victory phase. And I can maybe zoom in a little bit better, but so then you're checking corporate casualties, reduce profits by 1 for each corp base and casualties, et cetera, et cetera. So corporate might have a certain amount of profit, and you're thinking, hey, we're going to win the game. Well, they get reduced by their casualties, which may cause them to no longer win the game. It's stuff like that. And then once you get to the bottom, after doing these checks, if any of them have met their victory condition, then the game ends. So the game can end early, or it can go, for a long period of time. How long, I don't remember. It's like 6 eras, or 6 dust storms, or 4 dust storms. We'll look it up. I'm not worried about those details at the moment. We're just going to set up the game and introduce you to the coin concepts and to the game itself. So one of the things I always recommend to new players, if you're playing a coin game, is you need to study these things. So the Dust Storm round, or the end of an epoch, or whatever the coin mechanism is. The coin mechanisms always have this kind of concept where you play, and then you go to like what's called, I would call them an intermission. So you have this intermission, and then you're going to do a series of checks. And so with this one, you're going to resolve some logic and then check to see if anybody won. And this is critical, because if you are playing a corporation and you didn't know that you lose profit because of your casualties, you're going to misplay the game. So one of the most critical things you need to do is, first of all, figure out who are you playing. And then once you know who you are playing as, understand the victory round and what's going to happen to you when you get there, and what do you need to achieve in order to win the game. Because without knowing your objective, and it's funny because your objective could be, okay, you need 100 profit. We'll look up what the real objective is, but just bear with me. And then, you got your casualties, which then drops you to 99, and then you get to the victory check, and it's like, oops, sorry. So that's the stuff you just got to be mindful of. And the good news is this list is not very big. Like if you played Gandhi or Pendragon, which are the 2 coin games I'm the most familiar with, the American Revolution one I remember vaguely. And then I also have a Twilight Struggle. No, not Struggle, the Colonial Twilight, the Algerian one. But anyways, some of these, like you might have a whole laundry list of things that happen before the victory check occurs. So this is a nice short list. I'm sort of pleased with that, to be honest. So then if there is no victor, no one won, then you're going to go to a resources phase, and then things are going to happen there. There's going to be a support phase, and this is largely going to be, so let me get this out of the way. Earth is sending support to Mars, and it takes time to get there. So there's a transit period where they're going through space, and then they get to the moon Phobos, and then that's where you see the rocket ship. So there's a rocket ship picture there, and you see the rocket ship picture here. I'm pretty darn sure that's how the resources get from Earth to the surface of Mars. They're going to arrive in those locations. And they need to arrive, of course, assuming that they would have to arrive where there's no rebellion, right? They got to arrive where there's friendlies. And those resources from Earth are going to help the Martian government. They're not going to help the rebels in any way. But that's what's going to happen during the support phase. And then there's a redeploy phase, and then there's a reset phase. So all these things happen during the dust rounds. And we're going to be shuffling these event cards. There's a whole stack of them here. This might be a better way to show you. There's a whole stack of them. And as you can see, there's 1, 2, I have 3 dust storm cards at the bottom. I would swear there was a 4th. Maybe I miscounted. Yeah, I guess there's only 3 of them. So maybe there's, yeah, we'll see. But what's going to happen is we're gonna make a certain number of cards. We're going to shuffle them, and then we're going to take the dust storm card and shuffle it into like the final 4 or the final 6. It varies from game to game. And then we're going to basically build a big mega deck. And you don't know exactly where we're going to get that card. You can sort of card count and know that, hey, you know, if there's 14 cards in each era or whatever, that, you know, once you get to card 10, 11 through 14, you know, you're going to get this storm, and it could be at card 10 or it could be all the way to card 14. You don't know. So there's a little bit of variability, but you got a little bit of, you know, you can mentally predict when that's going to happen. And that's, of course, going to trigger the end game. Now, another interesting thing about this is that the rebels have their own cards. This is a new concept for me. So the Martians, or I'm sorry, the Red Dust Rebellion has these campaign cards. And they're going to look like this, where it says, water rationing hits government strongholds hard. Labyrinths may not be shifted to active support. So it looks like things that you can do as a rebel to really frustrate the government player. And then you have the Reclaimers, and they have a deck of cards called the Reclaimer Asset cards. And like for this one, you can see that there is a weapons cache that gives them 5 points for an attack. So those look like those are cards that are going to boost some of their actions. All right, so getting into the components, let's sort them. First off, you're going to have these. These are just the active and passive support for the Martian government. So just sort them, set them aside. Same for the Martians. Sort them, set them aside. You're going to have blue and black cubes. These are tokens for the Red Dust Rebellion. White cubes along with orange Reclaimer tokens. You're going to have some corporation tokens along with some supply tokens. You're going to have some corporation and Martian discs. Reclaimer discs. Red Dust Rebellion discs. And those discs represent bases, by the way. You're going to have these tokens which say population or damage. So the population goes up and down. Of course, population will, Martian government needs to get the population on their side. So high population cities that are controlled by the Martians are likely going to get the Martians points. Damage, basically you can damage these rocket ships and likely causing Earth to not be able to resupply at that location. Then there are some items that I set aside. Most of these, when they have the unique text on them, they're going to go on the point scoreboard thing at the top. And then there's things that are going to represent where the storm is. And then you've got these little satellite symbols. All of these are items that are going to be used as we play the game. They don't belong to any particular faction. And then last but not least, we talked about these. We have some control tokens for the various factions. And it's double-sided, different people. We have, as already stated, the 2 Rebel decks. Now, one thing that's interesting is we're controlling the AI bots. How do those Rebel decks get used? I have no idea. We'll find out. We have what's called the event deck. Do not shuffle these yet, because at the bottom are those Dust Storm cards, and you're going to need those separated out. I would swear there was 4 of them, but right now I only see 3. In fact, we got the rule book right here. Let's see. It has a component count. So, a deck of 51 event cards, 30 asset cards, 12 campaign cards, 24 curiosity cards. Yeah, it doesn't say. Okay, we'll figure it out later. And then you have these. These are the new bot cards. And it's just, these cards are bots for all 4 factions. So you see, we got the Reclaimers, the Red Dust, Corporations, and Martian Government. So when it's Martian Government's turn, you would be drawing from this deck. And there's a little bit, it's like a mini flowchart on it, but it's not nearly as bad as some of the earlier coin games. And you basically just start at the top of the card and follow it to the end. Now, one thing that is important to point out, and every game from GMT does this, so some of you who are GMT familiar know about this, but you have, GMT gives you spare components. In this game, it's very critical that you only use the components that you're supposed to use. Everything is component limited in this game. So you don't want your spare components mixed in with the primaries. And so you basically have 1 extra of everything. And I'm going to show you the bag here. So almost everything I showed you, there's 1 extra of them. And the only thing that there's not 1 extra of from a component perspective are these 2. There was not 1 extra of those. But there was 1 extra of every one of these chips. Well, hold on, those chips don't matter. 1 extra of the bases, you know, all the wooden components, etc. Now there was also 1 extra section, which seems a little random, but I don't know if you can see it. Let me get my hand on it. Right here. See, there's these little dotted lines. There's a little dotted line going up, and then it goes over here, and then it zigzags, and it comes down. I'm sorry, then it comes down to here. Okay? Actually, it's this entire row. That entire row, this. If I'm not looking through the camera, I can see it's these 2, this entire row, and this. So when you're punching your pieces, it actually has a little note here that says spares. I don't know if you can see it real easy. Let me bring it over here. Maybe it's easier to, there we go. See how it says spares? Then it's got the dotted line. So everything that is in there, you don't want to mix it in with your regular components. Those are spares in case you lose them. And you can see that those are the flat looking tokens. Because the only thing GMT gives you extra of are these wooden components. Like, see, there's 1 of all the bases, there's the cubes. And then you can see that there's some cardboard components, cardboard chits. And those are what was in the that little outline section that I just showed you. Okay, set those aside. You know, be thankful that none of your components are lost yet. But if you do lose a component, you do have one as a backup, which I'm always grateful that GMT does that. And so I have a dog. I have had friends over to play games, and my dog is old now. She's my old little girl. We've been together for almost 14 years now. But when she was a puppy, those game components would go to the ground and she would scoop that up with her mouth. And even if she spit it out for me, which she usually did, it would get distorted, deformed. She would definitely make short work of some of my components. She doesn't do that anymore. Now she sniffs it and actually lets me know that it's there, which I think is really cool, how dogs learn to support their master. But anyways, that's why I'm always grateful that GMT had extra components for exactly that kind of situation. Okay, getting into the weeds a little bit more. Obviously, we come with some dice. There is some dice rolling in this, but I think my understanding so far is it's largely to determine where the dust storms are going to come next and things of that nature. There might be a little bit of dice rolling for other things. If you've never played a coin game before, these components here, what these are is like when you're doing an action may let you select multiple regions that are going to do that action. So like, let's say it's moving your troops. So you can say, all right, I'm going to do an action here, here, and here. So these are there to remind you, because doing this actual action might take you 15 minutes to resolve. I'm exaggerating, but you know what I mean. And then by the time you're done resolving, you're like, oh crap, I don't remember where I was going to do the rest of my actions. Well, that's what these are for. Then you take it off when you're done, and now you know you got to do this one. Spend 15 more minutes, then you're done. Now you can do this one. So that's what these are for. You can play a whole game without using them. Sometimes, when you get really familiar with the game, you don't need to use them. But they're there for that purpose, and they're very handy. I don't know what the white versus green is. We'll figure that out as we go. But yeah, that's what those are for. All right, so then we have this, which we talked about. So this would be the actions that the Martian government gets to do. There's operations and special activities, which is something that is in every coin game. Operations is something you're guaranteed to do. Special activity is something that you can only do if you are the primary faction. And we'll get into that. That's this mechanic up here where you're using these little components. So it's a little mini game where when a turn starts, there's going to be event cards that are face up. Some of these event cards are going to be like game changing for, let's say, the Red Dust Rebellion, the red player. Well, if the red player is going first, then they can do the event, and then whoever goes next gets to do a full action, which is an operation and a special activity. Or if they choose not to do the event, they could do a full action anyways. But then whoever goes second can either do the event or has to do only an operation and can't do a special activity. Or sometimes it's a limited operation, meaning instead of being able to affect multiple spaces, they only get to affect one space. There's a lot of limitations like that, and every coin game so far, the AI gets to cheat. They're always doing full actions, but you as a player do not get to do that. So, and then of course, if you're playing multiplayer with other people, that mechanic shines a bit more. In a solo game against the AI, that's probably the weakest part about these coin games, is the AI just cheats, so it's not as fun. But when you're playing multiplayer, man oh man, can you screw someone over hard and force them to make some tough choices. Okay, so you have this is pretty standard in any coin game. We already talked about, you have the dust storm round. But on the other side, you have what's called a flashpoint round. This is a new thing. A flashpoint round is not triggered by like a dust storm card. Instead, you have a flashpoint track right here on the board. And as it goes up, it can then cause flashpoint to happen. And a flashpoint is nothing more than it's the Earth government basically doing things. So they're going to start sending support. Right? They're going to move pieces that are traveling from Earth to Mars. This is the mechanism that moves those pieces around. They're going to deal with casualties. The corporate casualties is going to trigger. The Earth confidence is going to get checked. So we're going to determine what the confidence is in the Martian government. Like, does Earth believe that they have the situation under control? Terraforming is going to occur. And then Church of the Reclaimer gets to do things too. So, and then the flashpoint track gets reset to 0, and then you continue play. So this is something that triggers when you get to the lightning bolt, which is right here. It goes ding, 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 and then there's a lightning bolt right there. So that's a new concept. Pretty interesting. There is this Curiosity. Curiosity is the name for the AI bots. So if you see Curiosity, just know that's AI bot stuff. And what it's telling you is during the Dust Storm round, there are special instructions that they follow. And they also have a victory check that they do here. So it says a human playing solitaire. Let me see if I can show you. A human playing solitaire against 3 NP non-player factions may only win if it's the final Dust Storm round. So that's interesting. So if you're playing by yourself, you don't get to win early. That's a little crazy if you ask me. It makes the game last so much longer. And then it says NPMG. So what's MG? Oh, that's the Martian government. Reduces supply total by 1 for every 2 population markers in displaced population. So they lose some supply. And so then it goes on. And so you're going to have like extra steps you have to take because you're playing with the bots. Right? And so then the other side of this, it just keeps going. Okay, so we're going to have some extra steps we got to do for them. The Curiosity also has, this is familiar if you've watched my Gandhi playthrough. This is a event list. Actually, even Pendragon has this. So there's cards. The cards have numbers on them. So, for example, this is card number 28. Let me give it to you this way. So see, that's card number 28. It's called Refugee Crisis. So if we look at this chart here, I'm going to have to flip it over. Bear with me. So 28 is at the tippy top. And so you can see the Martian government wants to do 28. And so does the Red Dust Rebellion, whereas the corporation and the CR don't really care. And this is helping the, because when it's the AI's turn, they have to decide, do they want to take the event or do they want to do an action? And that's what this is getting at. And if you zoom in a little bit, this is add 3 population markers to displaced population. So, anyways, that's what that says. And it says, there were some notes at the bottom. I'm just checking those out. Okay, and then the instructions, of course, they tell you is on section 8.5.5. So we'd have to go into the rule book to get some more detail on that. And then last but not least, there's a non-player aid, right, for Curiosity. So you have what's called an eligibility table. And so this is the, is the current event critical and effective? If it is, then they're going to choose the event. So that's what that other chart was supposed to help us with, right? Because it's telling us that the event is, I don't know how you can tell it's critical. Oh, it actually says it right in the chart, whether it's critical. I just didn't, card number 28 just didn't say that. 28 is just effective. So then you can see that the thing right here, acting faction is a non-player church. I'm going to get the CR, the reclamation. And then it says check for a critical asset event. And then, you know, so this is like a decision tree on how they're going to take their turn. When they're first eligible, second eligible. First eligible just means you get to go first. Second eligible means somebody has already gone first and now you're going second. That's what, and because you can pass. Because here's the thing, when you draw 2 event cards, and Those of you familiar with coin, this should not be a surprise. You're going to draw 2 event cards, like this. This is the one we're resolving right now. This is the one that doesn't get resolved until next turn. So you always know what's coming next turn. So the reason that's important is, let's say I'm first eligible and I take an action on this turn. I have to wait a turn. So I don't get to take an action at all on this one. So that sudden storm event, maybe I really want that card. So then I would pass when I'm on this card. So I'm guaranteed to have a chance on this card. And then the other thing is like, this is the order in which you select. So who gets to go first? So here the Martian government goes first. Then red dust, then corporations, then the church. And then this, I think, is the, I'm assuming 4. We'll look it up, but this is moving up the flashpoint track. And sorry that these colors, it's really beautiful artwork. See, the artwork's really nice, but that artwork's triggering the green screen really bad. Now, the sudden storm is the corporations go first. So if I was the Martian government here and I pass, I'm going 3rd over there. But if the corporations goes during this turn and Red Dust Rebellion goes during this turn, I'm going to go first over here because it's going to be me and Orange, the only ones that are eligible. So anyways, we'll get into that as we're playing, but that's the concept is there's a first eligible, second eligible, and this is the logic that the AI is going to use. So, here's where they call what an effective event is. And let me look at it real quick before I bring it back to your screen. Yes. So an effective event for the Mars, what this is saying is if it provides support, if it adds or increases support, that's an effective event for them. And then if it removes or reduces enemy forces from the map, that's also effective. And then, so they each have their own definition. Like this one says, if it increases profits, it's effective for the corporation. So each of them have a different, this is what you would go through to see if something's effective for them. And when you're first starting to play, this can be very time consuming. Next, you have your space selection priorities. So this is what I called the bubble chart in Gandhi. And if you zoom in on this, you can see like with this one, this is the Martian government. And so let's say that they're doing rebels at support. So they're gonna, these are their priorities. So if there's rebels at support, they're gonna prioritize securing the destination, reconning the destination, fortifying the destination, I'm sorry, just fortifying, and then remove or replace. So that's their bubble priority chart. And so you just go through and then you got like a priority of each type of action. So very cool. And then they have another bubble chart, but this one is entirely on movement. So there's 4 columns, one for each faction. And so if you're selecting a destination using the space selection priorities table, then, you can see 3 of the factions are going to be A, and they got the different logic as you're going down. So, do you have cubes that are greater than or equal to vulnerable enemies in the region? Keep active cubes active, blah, blah, blah. So there's a lot of, it could take you a lot. And this is still way better than the flowcharts. What they really did was they just incorporated the logic of the flowcharts in these bubble charts. But the bubble charts are visibly more appealing and easier to read and understand. It doesn't mean, though, that they're quick to go through. And if you're unfamiliar with the game, it's going to be a little bit of a slog to get through them. And last but not least, there's a rules reference booklet that you don't need if you're playing multiplayer. But if you're going to be playing, with other players, you have a rules and reference book that's for the curiosity cards. So this is an entire rule book on just the AI player. So it's a bit much, folks. It really is. I mean, in the defense of those YouTubers, they would actually have to work to make a playthrough video of this game. And maybe that says it all right there. So, okay. All that's left is we've done our basic introductions. We have, the different cities. Now there's different regions on Mars. So this is called the Hellas Planitia. I know it's hard for you to read with that camera the way it is. We got 4 cities over here in the Tharsis, Montes, and then Arabia Terra over there. And then these are maglevs, these blue lines. These dotted blue lines, I need to look up what that is still. But I know these are maglevs, which means that there's really good transportation between these. And then there's a mechanism, there's this wilderness, right? Because I think, if you're not in these 3 zones, then you're out in the wilderness, right? So some of this is that way. These little circles are for bases, and there's spots in the wilderness for bases, which is interesting. I'm assuming that's where the rebels are going to be, and they need to get their bases on the board somehow. This is displaced population. Basically, there's war going on. Population, had to move out, and so you got refugees. This is casualties for, it says EG or corp only. EG's for Earth, the Earth forces, or corp only. There's an overflow box of A and B over here. I need to learn what that is. So that's a new concept. And we got some satellites in orbit here. I need to learn what that is. And yeah, we're, setting up the game. You don't even need to know how to play to set up the game. But we're going to go ahead and try to do that. And then, of course, I do have some reading to do before we can actually start playthrough. The largest challenge with getting a new coin game is these rule books are thick. I'm at 45 pages on the main rule book, and then I got maybe half those pages for the non-player rule book. So controlling the AI bot, it's a lot. But here's the thing. If you've played a coin game before, a lot of these concepts are going to be instant. Like, I already know how to do first eligible, second eligible. All this stuff is pretty common. There's not even a lot to dwell over there. But the problem is then you start skipping the rule book, and then you miss something that's important. One thing I wish GMT would do now that they have so many coin games is, I know it would cost them more, but I would like an insert or even just a page in the rule book where it just tells me what's new compared to other coin games. So that way I can have like this little reference of, oh, okay. But instead they start from the beginning, just like I'm doing in this video, where you're assuming that the person's never played a coin game before. And it can be challenging. But yeah, so I'm going to pause it, and then we're going to get to the spot where we can do setup together, and then that'll wrap up this video. So let me pause so I can find the setup. Okay, so I'm back. There's some interesting twists to this game. First of all, these overflow spaces that I said I wasn't aware of, all they are is like if a particular spot on the map is too cluttered, you can put like an overflow A on that spot, and then move all your troops and everything over here, and then everything that's in the A section just represents what's supposed to be there. So maybe Tereshkova has too much going on, so you can do that. The next thing is that this game has player mats. So, for example, the orange player would have all of their components here on their player mat. And you can see as the bases come off, they would draw cards. That's what those little card things are. Because remember, they have their own deck of cards. So very interesting there. There's some concepts that I'm skipping for now because I just want to do the setup. The game does a good job of like laying out an overview of like, what's out there. So for example, this Earth Transit Phobos area at the top, it's called the Aldrin Cycler. In fact, it's written here. I know it's probably too hard for you to read with this camera zoomed out like it is. It's called the Aldrin Cycler, and only coin forces can be there. And in fact, it's the Earth forces. The other thing that happens is the Earth confidence level, as it goes up, again, difficult for you to read, but says corporation to here. And it's not until the Mars it gets to this level here and above, and you can see there's a different color shading. But anyways, I'll try to help you as best as I can. It's definitely difficult to see with this camera the way it is. Basically, who controls the Earth forces is dictated by the confidence level. So in the beginning of the game, or at the lower levels here, the corporation is going to control the Earth forces, and the Martian government has to gain confidence from Earth before they can control them. So even though they're allied and Earth forces are their friends, the corporation gets to control them in the beginning. Okay, so what else? Oh, the wilderness is a spot for bases, but it's definitely not like that's where the rebels are. These circles, I keep calling them cities, but they're called labyrinths as far as technical terms. And a labyrinth represents a domed city along with an underground. So that's where the rebels are. They're in the underground. There's a concept in the game when you have these markers here. So you can see one side has a imprinted picture on it, and then the other side is blank. So if it's blank side up, then that would be considered a hidden unit, and then that would be considered an active unit. That's pretty, if you played Vietnam or the Revolutionary or many of the coin games, that's a concept that's used. Pendragon does not use that concept, which might be one of the reasons why I like it so much. But the hidden and active thing is a thing, and what's the purpose of it? Well, some actions only apply to hidden units, some actions only apply to revealed units. Things like that. Okay, what else did I possibly miss? Because we're going to be getting into some of this as we play, so I don't want to get too in the weeds. The damage, this green effect represents infrastructure, and that's where damage markers can go. Damage markers on those green spaces will cause population to, not to be killed, but they get displaced. All right, so I'm on setup. Okay. It says a full setup diagram is found at the end of this booklet. And the reverse side of each faction map. Holy crap, I didn't even know that. There it is. Wow. Okay, so here you can see the Martian government has a setup there. So you can see Martian government resources 18, tech support and EG confidence 12, available forces, blah, blah, blah. Maybe this will have a lot less of the snap, crackle, pop. So that's pretty handy, actually. I have all the pieces set up like this, and I don't want to remove them just to see the other side. But yeah, that's pretty handy. All right, so we'll try to follow the booklet the way it's written. It is very cool. They do have a picture. This is the rule book, final page, and this is a picture of a fully set up game. So very, very handy. So if you're a more visual person, I do like that. I like that a lot. Okay, so it says eligible faction box. So one cylinder from each player. And so, see how you have that? Those are the cylinders. The only thing I'm curious about is where's my red cylinders? Oh, I never got them out. There you go. So one cylinder from each player. I know when I'm looking at my preview on my computer, this looks extremely zoomed out. This is actually a lot closer for me sitting here than it is on the camera. Camera looks like it's in outer space. But anyways, these, what they do is they go into the eligible box, which is right up here. And these are going to be used for when it's your player turn. There's going to be some interaction going on there. I may have to see if I can get another camera going. All right, flashpoint track. Marker goes on the 0 position. So there's a flashpoint marker, and I know I saw it right here. So you have a flashpoint marker. It goes on space 0 of the board, like so. And I don't know, maybe I can, let's try zooming in a little bit, because that looks so much better, but now I gotta like swing it around. So it goes there. Then I can also shut off the green screen so you don't see the interference. But anyways, flashpoint marker goes there. Earth government confidence track, marker goes in the top 1 position. So give me a second, I just gotta find the Earth confidence marker. I think it's this one. I need to check. I don't know. I don't know if it has a picture of the Earth governance marker. Yes, it is. So it goes on the top 1, which is this. There's 2 ones here. Oh, and it says set it to EG minus. I don't know how well you could see that there, but see that says EG plus, and then the other side says EG minus. So that goes on the top, like so. Then in the displaced population box, we got to put 4 population markers. And those are here. So 1, 2, 3, 4. We can make them a little more organized. All right, so then for the edge track. So I'm going to straighten this out again, zoom it out. This is going to be hard for me to zoom in. I sort of have the thing that's holding this in place is fixed. It's not ideal for moving this way. But what we're going to be doing is we're going to be putting markers here on the edge, is what it's trying to explain. So it says enemy bases 10. So we have all these tokens here. So for example, this is total opposition bases. This one here says enemy bases. And so that goes on number 10. And I know you can't see it very well, but I'm assuming at home you understand what a number track is, and it goes on number 10. Profits goes on 0. So there's a big spot here for 0. Then CR controlled, which is the church. Church controlled plus bases. That's going to go on 7. And in case you're wondering, these are trackers. So basically, if it's going on 7, that means that the Church of the Reclamation is controlling 7 spaces are bases, right? So it's control plus bases. So you add those up, you're going to get 7. It's just reflective of what the game start is. Total support and Earth governance confidence is 12. So that goes on 12. Now, we remember Earth governance confidence is just a 1. So that means there's 11 people who support, 11 population that supports the Martian government. Total opposed plus bases and red dust resources is 14. So this is total oppose, goes there, right? And then red dust resources is represented by another one of these. So that's going to go on 14 as well. So it sits right on top. Those are 2 different markers, by the way. They're not meant to be tracking similar things. The Mars government resources is on 18. And I'm wondering, because I have a third one, I'm wondering if that's supposed to go in my my bonus supply. They do give you a count of everything. You start with 3 blue discs, which are government bases. Six round cylinders. 2 blue, 1 black, 2 red, and 1 orange. So this is interesting. So 2 blue means that this is an extra piece. 1 orange means this is an extra piece. And it said, I gotta go back to it. Two blue, 1 black, which means this is an extra piece. 2 red and 1 orange. So what's interesting is I don't have an extra red. Oh, nope, yes I do, right there. So there's 4, remember I told you that GMT gives you extra pieces? Well, there you go. I got extra pieces of those too. So I gotta put those away. Okay, so that covers the edge track. So now the next thing is the player mats. So the Mars government gets 1 base and 12 troops. So right now I have right now I have 3 bases on it, right? So it's saying that there's 1 base and 12 troops. So the 12 troops are just going to be the cubes. So you would just have 12 of them on here. And then of course there's 3 bases, and this shows like how many you have. I mean, you would just fill them out like so. And then if you take this one away, that shows you have 1 base, because these 2 are still covered. So so it's going to look like that on the player mat. But anyways, let me put this away. All right, and then the corp is going to have 6 bases. So I'm just going to put them here in the overflow box, right? So 1 base for blue, 6 for the corp. And then 12 troops for blue. There's 30 total cubes. So they're saying that 12 of them goes on the mat. Right, so I took 12 out. So you can see there's a lot of blue cubes. They're going to be used somewhere. Then with the corporation, like it said, there's 6 bases. So here's what gets crazy. Does that mean that there's 6 bases on the board, or there's 6 bases on the mat? Because that's a different answer. Yeah, I'm looking at the corporations on the sheet, and I see 2 bases, 3. I see 3 on the board. So it's the opposite. So it's saying that there's only 1 base on the mat, and then there's 6 on this mat. Which means that there would be 3 corporate bases that actually go on the board. And it's confusing, but once you understand, so 1 security and 1 spec ops. So terminology gets a little wonky, but basically a security is just a cube. And then the spec ops I'm trying to figure out what is the spec ops. Oh, the spec ops are the cylinders. Okay, so for the cubes, there's only 1 cube on the mat. And these mats, by the way, are available forces. So that means that everything else is like not available yet, if it's not on the board or whatever. So what I'm doing off camera here, and actually I can put this on camera, it's just this one's the closest. I put 1 cube on, and then I have 6 of these on. 3 bases are over here, and so there's a number here, which I know is hard for you to see, but it says 1, 2, 3. Like that. So this is what I'm setting up. And I set up blue per the instructions to look like that. So there's 12 cubes on it and 1 base. So that means 2 bases are deployed. Okay, so we're doing black right now. So they said 1 security and 1 spec ops. So this is a spec ops. And then this is just hidden active. Pretty sure. They have different terms that they use. And it's hard to remember what the terms are. Like even just calling it a spec ops, I call it, the cylinder. Yeah, it's hidden and active. 2 satellites. So this is a new concept. So they got 2 satellites that are available to them. Satellites go from Earth. Satellites go from Earth to here, and then they end up in orbit. And then actions can cause the satellite to focus on an area, and they count as troops for purposes of a lot of actions. So it'll count as extra troops in that area. It doesn't count as troops for controlling the area. That's a key thing that I got to remember. But these satellites, they do have to do the trip, and then when they're in orbit, they're immune to any damage. But if they're focused on an area, they can be damaged by the rebels. The satellites can. And so, and they would actually go into the casualties box, the satellites. So corporations are controlling these satellites, as you can see. 1 supply marker and 1 population marker. Now this is interesting. So they actually have a population marker on their player mat and 1 supply. Not a plus. This side, by the way, says +3. And we can zoom it in again. So this is just a regular supply side, and then the other side says +3. So just 1. All right, so that's it for oh man, I apologize so much. I was reading from the wrong section. So the 6 quark bases is correct. None of this is correct. So my apologies. My apologies. 6 quark bases, 6 spec ops. So it looks like all but 2 are on the board. I'm going to put the cube on the other side. And then 4 security cubes. So that's what the corporation setup is going to look like. That's a lot simpler. What I was reading is something else. So yes, 2 satellites are coming out. Okay. Earth government. Now remember, Earth government is sort of like a neutral thing. They're going to have 8 Earth government troops, which are here. So there's 4, 8. That's it. Just 8 troops for them. Okay, red dust. These guys right here. So it says 4 bases. So I'm going to take off 4, 5, because they have 4 bases on. So I'm assuming 5 bases are going to go on the board. And then 14 rebels. And the rebels, as you can see, they don't use cubes. So there's 3, 6, 9, 10, 11, 12, 14. All right, then last but not least, we got the church. They have 11 bases. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So 4 of them come off. And then 9 rebels. There's 4, 8, 9. Okay, that's the player mat. Now we're moving to what's called off Mars. So, off Mars is the, I gotta zoom out for you. This time I zoomed out too much. Off Mars is the Aldrin Cycle area. So here we go. On Earth, there's 2 Earth government troops. So we gotta come back and do that kind of stuff. And I'm trying to figure out, what did I do with my Earth government cubes? I know I put them somewhere. Holy cow, I feel like I'm blind right now. I found them, I found them. All right, so 2 of these cubes go on Earth. And then 1 security, and see, these terminology things are driving me nuts, but security is just a black cube. That also goes on Earth. And remember, only the coin governments go on Earth. So there's going to be no rebels on any of this stuff. 1 spec ops, which is this guy. Now the 2 satellites come out. One supply marker and 1 population marker. Now that makes a lot more sense. It's not on a player mat. Supply is actually being sent from Earth, and so are some people. So we got all that stuff right there on Earth coming over. Then in transit is 2 more Earth government troops. 1 security, 1 spec ops, 1 satellite. Just so you know, this is 3 out of 4 satellites used. This is the last security item. So my security is empty. So you used every one by now. And then 3 supply markers. And I'm not going to do the +3. I'll do 3 separate ones for now. Assuming they can go to different places, I guess. Okay, then on Phobos, we have 4 more EG troops. And I just want you to know that's all 4 remaining cubes. Go there. And then 2 security. And then in orbit is the final satellite. So there's 1 in orbit right now. Okay, so that's off Mars. So next it's moving to Tharsis Montes, which is this. So in Europa, which is this one, 2 MG troops, which is Martian government. 1 security. I gotta keep my finger here so I don't lose my place. And then 1 passive support. So what that means is you take this guy, right? And so you put it on the passive support side. Then Tenzing, which is this one. 3 Martian troops. 1 security. 1 it's a CR rebel. Yeah, 1 CR rebel. Active, it says. So you gotta take your rebel and make sure it's active side up. And then active support. So it's a little bit on the stronger side in terms of support. All right, next up is Tereshkova, which is this one. Okay, 2 more Martian troops. 1 RD rebel. It's not active. And then neutral. Shepard, 1 MG troop, 2 RD rebels, RD rebels. I gotta pay attention. I am not paying attention, folks. 1 red dust rebel. RD is red dust. 2 RD rebels, and then passive opposition on this one. So Commander Shepard is not pleased with the Martian government. Okay, Ascraeus Mons, which is this desert area right here, has 1 CR base. So 1 Church of the Reclaimer base, 2 CR rebels, and And then 1 damage on infrastructure track. And neutral. Tharsis Tholus, which is this one. 1 MG base. 2 MG troops. 1 damage on the infrastructure track. And neutral. And by the way, adjacency is anything that's adjacent via a black line or the blue lines. So this is adjacent to these two. And then anything that's on the edge is adjacent to the wilderness. And then the wilderness is adjacent to anything on the edge, in whatever other region as well. Okay, next one is Arjo Mons, which is just neutral. So basically you don't do anything with that one. Pavonis Mons has passive support. So make sure that's flipped correctly. Syria Planum is active support. That's this one. Noctis Labyrinthius has 1 red dust base. Two red dust rebels. And neutral. Dedula Planum has 1 red dust rebel and neutral. Sinai Planum, 1 more rebel and neutral. Okay, that's this whole area. Next we go to Arabia Terra, which is up there. The New Cordoba has 2 MG troops. 1 RD rebel. 1 CR base. That's interesting. Two CR rebels. And it's neutral. Shenzhou. 2 MG troops. 1 Corp base. 2 security. 1 RD rebel. And it's neutral. Rutherford is just neutral. Raydal has 1 red dust base. 1 red dust rebel. And 1 damage on the infrastructure track. And it's neutral. Marth has 1 corporate base. 2 security. 1 damage on the infrastructure track and neutral. Truvalat. 1 CR base. 1 CR rebel. And 1 damage on the infrastructure track and neutral. Okay, so that's that whole section. And now we go to Hellas Planitia. So Gandhi has 1 MG troop. 1 our red dust base. 2 red dust rebels. And it's got passive opposition. Sharma has 1 MG troop. 1 red dust base, 3 red dust rebels, these are active, oh, I'm sorry, just 3 red dust rebels. The active part is its active opposition. I'm just checking. Yeah, it's showing everybody hidden. This whole active thing here was the same mistake. Everybody's hidden. The active support is what I was confusing with active. It shows everything face down. No matter who it is, what color, including security. All right. Okay, that was Sharma. Now we're moving to Alpheus Cullis. So a red dust base, red dust rebel, and passive opposition. Coronel Montez is an MG base. Two MG troops. That's the final 2 troops. 2 CR rebels. 1 damage and neutral. And then Hellas Chaos, 1 corp base. We used up all of our corp bases. Something's not right. I have a CR base and a MG base still left. It's telling me to place a corp base, but the player mat for corporations says 6 corp bases, and I have 6 corp bases on it. Something's not right. Did they not? It does show. I put a corp base here. This is an MG base. So that's my first mistake. Yeah, we're good. All right, so the corp base goes here. And 2 security, which is the final 2 cubes for black. And then 1 damage and neutral. Then last but not least is the wilderness. And then the CR base goes there. And 3 CR rebels. And that is every single rebel as well. So every component in the game is used. You should have no components left. Remember, GMT gives you 1 extra of everything. It should be separated already. The components are either on the game board or on your player mats. There should be, the only components that are not on either are things like these tokens. All right. That's what I got. That is the setup for the board. I know that was long, and that's the problem. That's why I like Tabletop Simulator. I click a button and bam, the whole thing's set up. So the next thing it says, roll 2 dice. 1 white and 1 black. I'm assuming the color will matter in a second. Just getting my dice out of the bag. So it says roll 2 dice. So there you go. I rolled a 5 and a 6. Let's see what it says. Place an approaching storm marker in a space corresponding to the result. So approaching storm. White die result indicates the map region or subregion, and the black die indicates the precise space. So see how this is a 5? This says 5, 6 right here. Let me see if I can zoom in for you. So see how that says 5, 6 right there? So the white die matched that. And then the black die, I gotta zoom out a little bit. So if you're playing along at home, there's a number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So this is the 6. So the storm, approaching storm, is going to hit Sharma, which is interesting. Then repeat this procedure once more. So there's 2 approaching storms placed in total. So now we got a 5, 4. So another approaching storm is once again 5, and then 4 is down here in Hellas Chaos. So it's interesting, they're right next to each other. And by the way, if you roll the exact same place twice, then it's a raging storm, which I think is the other side. So raging storms are going to be bad. And the Reclaimers, the Church of the Reclaimers, may remove 1 enemy unit from the space. So since a raging storm's coming, they take advantage of the chaos. Very interesting. Okay, I think this is the last part. Let me make sure. Yes, it is. So next thing, and the last thing we got to do is set up the deck, which we've talked about already. And remember, I read that if you're playing against the bots solo, you have to play all the way to the end. Now I'm grateful that there's only 3 Duststorm cards, because that means you only have 3 eras you have to go through. So it's saying, shuffle together the 12 campaign cards to form the campaign deck. Well, the campaign cards are these red ones. So they're just saying to shuffle them. So we shall do so. And then that goes just on the side. I probably should make some room so I'm not stretching so much. I hate going all the way across my table. Okay, so it says to do that. Draw and reveal 1 campaign card from the deck and then put it into play. So this card's effect will be active until the next Duststorm round reset phase. So what these are, these campaign cards, because I did read that. What they are is they're like a game rule that is in effect. It's almost like an environmental card, or if you play event cards in most board games, this is like an event card. So this says, Red Wave Elections. Local elections sweep in red dust-friendly candidates. When any space shifts from passive support to neutral, it instead goes to passive opposition. This is really beneficial to the rebels. And I don't know where to put it. I mean, the wilderness actually looks like a great place. There's plenty of room there. Then it's saying, shuffle the 30 asset cards. That's these. No, I'm sorry. Nope. That's these. So let's shuffle those. And then the Reclaimers are going to get 3 of those. Now, it is possible with the AI bots that some things are going to change. And here's what I mean by that. We have a reference rulebook for the AI bots, and I didn't even look at it. So there's a setup on page 4. So each faction uses 6 curiosity cards marked with their faction color and symbol. Shuffle the cards and put it into a deck face up with the symbol showing. So all that means is, okay, so if I'm shuffling the corporate cards, so these corporate cards have this symbol right here on that's the face up side. That's the face down side, right? So it's saying to just shuffle them, and then, you'll have the cards face up for that particular faction. And then for any NP faction being used, set the NP-MG supply total marker to 0. So that's where we get these extra tokens. So this says NP agitate total. That NP stands for non-player. So that's the reason why these weren't in the setup rules. So we have 1, 2, you can see we have 3 tokens. I'm going to play as the Martian government. So we're going to put the blue one back because that's not going to be a non-player. But for the church and the red dust, they have non-player tokens. And it looks like corporate doesn't have one. Now there is this thing called Haboob. I didn't look up what that is, but maybe corporate uses that. We'll find out in a second. Yeah, so it says the MG supply total would be 0, but we're playing the MG. So the red dust agitate total marker to 1d3 as its starting value. So 1d3, the way I do things is it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 5, 6 being a 3, 3, 4 being a 2, 1, 2 being a 1. I know people do things different ways. And I know some people it doesn't make sense because some people do 1, 2, 3 and then 4, 5, 6 is 1, 2, 3. I don't do it that way. So that's, actually, I just realized I do it the other way. But anyways, it doesn't matter. So we're going to call, I said I didn't do it that way. So this is a 1 for purposes of now. We'll correct it when we play it again later. It's really late at night, folks. I'm tired. So forgive me. So let me get this NP agitate total on the 1. So just some extra markers we're putting on the board. And then the NPR CR asset goes to 3. So that's the church one goes to 3. So if I'm ever lucky enough to have the designer of this game watching this video, my only feedback right away is that that track with the numbers needs to be closer to me. It needs to be down here. So I'm playing solitaire. So I'm sitting on this side of the board with the board facing me face up, and you put all the important markers. So I have to reach all the way across the table every time. That's my only feedback so far. Just an ergonomics feedback. Okay, so from a setup perspective for the bots, that's all that changes. So we're getting back to this, and yeah, we shuffle, and then they're going to grab 4. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. So I just got this deck of cards. I'm going to set it off to the side, and then we drew 4 of them. I don't know if I get to look at them or not. I'm going to have to if I'm controlling them as a bot, but I'll just put them face down next to them for now. Okay, then for the event deck. So now we're finally getting to this deck of cards. Remove the 3 Dust Storm cards. There you go. It's confirmed. There's only 3. Shuffle together the remaining 48. So I'm going to do that right now. And while I'm doing that, I'm going to keep reading. Deal out 3 piles of 12, then remove the remaining 12 from play without revealing them. Very cool. So there's always going to be 12 events that aren't going to be in the game. And so there might be that one event that you're like, oh man, that's really awesome. You may never see it, and you don't even know if it's in the game or not. I always like that about this game. They do tend to do that all the time. I remember with Pendragon, there were certain ones that the barbarians really, really needed. Like it was like the best card in the game for them. And, sometimes you get those in the early epochs, and sometimes you don't get them until the very end, and sometimes you don't get them at all. So it's that's the part that's challenging. is you don't know when. The American Revolution one was more strict because there was, year 1, year 2, year 3, year 4. So each year had specific events for that year because it was very historical. And that made the events a lot more predictable, right? Because you knew in year 1 certain events were going to come up. I think there was still a mechanism that not all of them were in the game or something like that. I don't remember. But the point, though, is that a year 1 event is never going to show up in year 4, for example. There are certain events that only occur in year 1, and that's it. So, Washington, is going to cross the river, on a certain year every time. He's not going to do it at the beginning of the war the first time, and have Valley Forge at the end of the war the second time or whatever. So, anyways, I think I've adequately shuffled it for now. So then what it's saying is we're going to make 4 sets of cards, and then there's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Getting a little too close together. I screwed up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 7. And then this one should only have 6. Yes. 8. 9, 10, 11, 12. These are out of the game. And it said, don't look at them. So don't look at them. I don't know the game well enough to tell you one way or the other. Okay, so then for the remaining ones, we have to take the bottom 6 of each deck. So this is the first deck. I'm counting out the bottom 6. So there's the top 6 that here, I'm going to scoot these over. This is the top 6 that you're seeing. I got the bottom 6 in my hand. And we're going to take one of those red dust storms and you shuffle it into the bottom 6. So it's anywhere in the bottom 6. So we're going to do 3 eras, if you will, where the dust storm is anywhere in the bottom 6. So let's say it's the very top one. So we get to the 7th card and we draw the dust storm. But that means we had a really short era 1. But we're going to be playing those events and the rest of the Era 1 events and then go into the Era 2. So that means Era 2 is going to be really long. Okay, so it's not like you discard the cards, or at least unless they change the rules on this one. That usually, it just means, so now we're going to take, okay, these are the ones I shuffled, the red dust cards somewhere in there. And then we take these ones and put it on top, and that's going to form our deck. And then I got to do the same thing with each other one. All right, so shuffle, put this on top. We formed a deck. Now I'm going to put this one on top of that one. And then the last one. Same deal. I merge them and now they go on top. All right, so then, I mean, it wasn't necessary. It's a little lame they don't have an event, like a place for us to put these cards, but we'll put them here. So I'm going to move these campaign cards out of the way. So these event cards, actually, I'm going to put them over here. So what you do is you reveal one, and then the other one is on top. So this is going to be turn one, and red's going to get to go first. So we're going to have to do some AI shenanigans to figure out what are they going to do. Are they going to play the event, or are they going to do an action, right? So that's how the game's going to start. And then if you pass this round, you can then go to this round and use this card. And blue goes second here. So if blue passes, they go third here. But it all depends on who goes, like if red goes first, which might be a reason why blue would want to pass, just because they get to do a limited action or whatever. Then over here, red doesn't get to go, so black would get to go first, and we would still go second, assuming black didn't go over here. So that's some of the logic that's going to happen. And so we have it set up, and what I'm going to do is these are going to be off camera here, but they're near the they're near this, so I can just slide it over, and we can get some stuff going there. Anyways, that was how many hours? 2 hours. I did a lot of gabbing. Those YouTubers still suck. GMT, you could do better with who you send your early copies to. Setup is pretty standard. Nothing about this setup was surprising or different than other coin games. I'm a big fan of the Tabletop Simulator. I know GMT has an official Tabletop Simulator, and they intentionally left out the solo components. My only plea to anybody who's affiliated with that organization is please upload the solo components, because as much as I love the physical game, and I know some of you are passionate about that, I'd rather play it on Tabletop Simulator. I value my time, and as you can see, it took just even shuffling these cards, it's a mind-numbing process. And with a touch of a button, all the cards are shuffled, and I can get into what I really want to do, and that's play the game. So I'm going to see if I can get some playtime in tomorrow. I have some reading to do, folks. I more or less know how to play, but some of the intricacies I got to get to the bottom of. There's already rules that I know I'm going to forget, like, you know, the satellite counts as a troop, but then it doesn't count as a troop for purposes of the determining control. It's that kind of stuff that I just sigh, because those types of rules should be somewhere very clear in a player aid. There's another YouTuber that only does unboxings, or hey, I like this game, and they don't really actually play it at all. Anyways, I would say they used to be better. I think some of their success got the better of them. But anyways, back to this. It's just those are the rules you forget, and it would just be nice if there was a player aid that had some of those rules a little more pronounced, so you don't forget those kind of things. I mean, they do have a don't forget these rules section. It's just that now you got to go read it and not forget that you forgot. Anyways, I'm being silly. I love coin games. I made a comment to one of my friends that I wish somebody else would read the rule book, and then I would just get to play. That's how I feel about these games. I want that buddy who doesn't mind reading the rule book. He can explain them to me. I can pick up, okay, this is what we do. And then I just enjoy playing the snot out of these. I enjoy these solo. These are great solo games. The bots are good. Don't like the cheaty McCheatersons they do up there, but I just don't like. I mean, it's not that the rule books aren't organized or well done. It's a lot. That's all. And you work all day on your full-time job, and then you come home, and sometimes you don't want to read. I was excited about this one, so I got into it, and here I am 4 hours after I received the game, already recording. Some of it was just I was angry at the other YouTubers for squandering their opportunities that they get that the rest of us don't. But it doesn't matter. Here we are. We made it through the setup. Like I said, I got a little bit of more. I got to do some more reading before we can get started. And we're ready to rock and roll. So thanks for watching. As always, stay awesome.